Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be exploring the life and philosophy of Matthew McConaughey,
Yeah.
based on his memoir, GreenLights.
Yeah.
This book is particularly interesting because it's built on 35 years of McConaughey's personal diaries.
Oh, wow.
Talk about a treasure trove of material.
Yeah, you're getting an unfiltered glimpse into his evolution, both as a person and as an actor.
Right.
It's not just a highlight reel. It's a raw and honest account of his successes, his failures, and the lessons he's learned along the way.
All right, let's dive right in. McConaughey's childhood was, well, let's just say colorful.
Yeah.
His parents divorced twice and then married each other 3 times.
Wow.
I mean, can you imagine the family dinners?
It definitely wasn't a typical upbringing. But McConaughey doesn't dwell on the negativity.
Right.
Instead, he focuses on how these seemingly chaotic experiences fostered resilience and taught him to adapt to the unexpected.
His dad also had a unique way of instilling life lessons. There's a story about young Matthew getting a Cracker Jack tattoo, and his dad, well, he wasn't too happy about it.
That's putting it mildly. He actually whipped McConaughey until he bled.
Oh, wow.
It's a pretty extreme example of the tough love approach that was prevalent in their family.
But what's interesting is that McConaughey doesn't see it as abuse.
Right.
He talks about how it was always done with love and a desire to teach him important lessons about accountability and the consequences of his actions.
It's a reminder that sometimes those seemingly harsh experiences can shape us in unexpected ways.
Yeah,
It's all about perspective.
exactly. And that leads us to his philosophy of GreenLights.
Right.
This idea that challenges and setbacks aren't stop signs, but rather signals to reroute, recalibrate, and ultimately keep moving forward.
It's about recognizing that life is going to throw you curveballs,
Right.
but you have the power to choose how you respond to them.
Yeah.
Do you let them derail you, or do you find a way to use them to your advantage?
He even talks about how sometimes those detours lead you to something even better than you could have imagined.
Right.
It's like stumbling upon a hidden gem on a back road.
Absolutely. And his memoir is filled with these green light moments.
Yeah.
Some are humorous, some are deeply personal, and some are downright profound. They offer a glimpse into the experiences that shaped his outlook on life and fueled his success.
So let's get into some of those stories. We've got the infamous table flipping incident with his parents, his unexpected year in rural Australia as an exchange student.
Okay.
And, oh yeah, the story about a cheeseburger lecture.
Oh, wow.
You can't make this stuff up.
Those anecdotes are definitely entertaining.
Right.
But they also reveal a lot about McConaughey's character and the values he holds dear.
Yeah.
Let's start with his family, the foundation that shaped him.
Okay, so imagine this. It's a Wednesday night, and McConaughey's dad comes home from work looking forward to a peaceful dinner.
Okay.
But his mom, well, she has other plans. She starts commenting on his weight, piling on the potatoes, and generally stirring the pot.
Oh, my God.
McConaughey's hiding behind the couch, witnessing this whole thing unfold, and then, bam! His dad flips the entire dining table into the ceiling.
Oh, wow.
Food, dishes, everything goes flying.
It's a pretty dramatic illustration of their passionate personalities and their, let's say, unconventional way of communicating.
But here's the thing. Despite all the drama, there was a deep love and sense of family present. They may have argued and flipped tables, but they always made sure to say, I love you, and they meant it.
That's a really interesting point. It shows that love and conflict aren't mutually exclusive.
Right.
They can actually coexist, and sometimes that friction can even strengthen a bond.
And McConaughey's mom, she was a force of nature.
Oh, yeah?
He credits her with beating cancer not once, but twice, through sheer willpower and denial.
It speaks to her incredible resilience and her unique approach to life.
Right.
It's a reminder that sometimes a positive attitude and a refusal to give up can make all the difference.
His dad, on the other hand, was all about practicality.
Okay.
He emphasized the importance of triceps over biceps, arguing that triceps are the work muscles, the ones that put food on the table.
It's a lesson about valuing substance over style, practicality over appearances.
Yeah.
And this practicality wasn't limited to physical strength.
Okay.
He also possessed a certain tenderness, a willingness to care for those around him.
Yeah, like the time their pet bird, Lucky, accidentally drowned in the toilet.
Their father was devastated, but he refused to give up on Lucky.
Oh, wow.
He gently cradled the bird and started giving it mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
Wait, he gave a bird CPR.
He did, and after a few tense moments, Lucky twitched, coughed up some water, and looked up at his savior.
Oh, wow.
The bird lived for another 8 years.
That's incredible. That's not just about practicality. It's about refusing to give up on something you care about. It's about that fighting spirit that McConaughey seems to have inherited.
Exactly. And this spirit was also evident in the relationship between his father and brother Mike.
Hmm.
There's a story about Mike standing up to their dad when he was falsely accused of stealing.
It sounds like a classic power struggle, a young man asserting his independence.
It was Mike refused to back down even when his dad challenged him physically.
Wow.
It ended with Mike throwing gravel in his father's eyes and wielding a 2x4 in self-defense.
That escalated quickly.
It did. But from that point forward, the relationship shifted.
Okay.
They became equals.
Mm-hmm.
Their bond forged in mutual respect.
Mm-hmm.
It was a turning point, a green light moment that redefined their dynamic.
So these rites of passage, these moments of confrontation and resolution, they were crucial in their family.
They shaped the men they became, teaching them about resilience, respect, and the importance of standing up for what you believe in.
And these values clearly influenced McConaughey. He even talks about his brother Pat, who had an unwavering sense of integrity. It's like the time he got kicked off his college golf team because he was the only one who admitted to smoking weed with his teammates.
He chose honesty even when it meant facing consequences.
Mm-hmm.
It's a powerful example of living by your principles, even when it's hard.
Okay, let's shift gears and head down under. McConaughey decided to spend a year as an exchange student in Australia, picturing himself living the surfer's life near Sydney.
He even made a pact with the program coordinator, vowing to stay the whole year unless there was a death in the family. He was determined to make the most of this experience.
Wow.
Little did he know what was in store.
Instead of sunny beaches and surfing, he landed in the tiny town of Warnervale, population 305.
Oh, wow.
Talk about a culture shock.
And his host family, the Dooleys, well, they were an eccentric bunch.
Okay.
They had very specific rules, opinions, and a unique approach to, well, everything.
Which leads us to the infamous cheeseburger incident.
Yeah.
McConaughey casually remarked that the person who invented the cheeseburger was a genius, innocuous enough, right?
Not to Norville Dooley, the patriarch of the family. He felt compelled to deliver a formal lecture to McConaughey about his choice of words.
A cheeseburger lecture.
Arguing that the cheeseburger was a mere derivative of the superior hamburger.
Oh, my.
He even used a portrait of Winston Churchill on his office wall for dramatic effect.
So it wasn't just a different country, it was like a different planet.
Exactly. And this clash of cultures, coupled with the isolation of living in such a small town, led to some intense homesickness for McConaughey.
Mm-hmm.
He missed his friends, his freedom, and even his truck. He started questioning his identity and his place in the world.
It sounds like Australia, despite being a far cry from his expectations, turned out to be a significant green light moment for him.
It absolutely was. He was forced to confront his own biases, adapt to a new way of life, and ultimately rely on his own resourcefulness to navigate this unfamiliar territory.
He even considered becoming a monk at one point. Talk about a drastic change of plans.
It shows just how deeply this experience affected him. He was searching for meaning, for something to ground him amidst the cultural differences and personal challenges he was facing. And it's in these moments of discomfort that we often discover our true strength and resilience.
So it wasn't all sunshine and roses down under them. There were some pretty awkward encounters, like the time his host's mother insisted he kiss his host's sister goodbye on the lips.
Oh, yes, the infamous kiss on the lippies incident.
Yeah.
It was a mortifying experience for McConaughey, especially with her boyfriend watching.
Oh, wow.
It highlights those cultural nuances that can lead to some uncomfortable situations when you're immersed in a different world.
And then there was the whole mom and pop debacle.
Ah, yes. The Dooleys requested that McConaughey address them as mom and pop during his stay, a request he politely but firmly declined.
Oh, no.
He already had a mom and dad, thank you very much.
You can imagine how well that went over.
Not well at all. It created this underlying tension that eventually reached a boiling point when McConaughey tried to leave, and the Dooleys refused to let him go. In a moment of frustration, he punched a hole in his bedroom door.
It sounds like he was ready to escape that situation at any cost.
Luckily, he managed to escape with the help of his bank manager friend.
Okay.
But here's the twist. It turns out all of his friends back home knew the Dooleys were eccentric.
No way. They knew, and they didn't warn him.
It adds a layer of humor to the whole ordeal. But for McConaughey, it was a real test of his adaptability and his ability to navigate the unexpected.
Okay, so Australia was a crash course in resilience, adaptability, and let's be honest, a bit of good-natured hazing from his friends.
Exactly. And these experiences would prove to be invaluable as he embarked on his journey to Hollywood.
Now let's talk about that journey. It's pretty amazing how he went from a law student to one of Hollywood's most recognizable faces. Initially, he planned to follow in his brother's footsteps and become a lawyer.
He excelled in debate and felt a sense of duty to use his skills to help his family.
Right.
But deep down, he knew it wasn't his true calling. He was drawn to storytelling, to the power of film to move and inspire people.
And then came a pivotal moment.
Okay.
He stumbled upon a book that changed everything.
All right.
He was supposed to be studying for a psychology exam, but he got completely absorbed in the greatest salesman in the world.
This book, which focused on the power of positive habits and self-belief, ignited something in McConaughey.
Okay.
He realized he had been denying his true passion.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be a lawyer. He wanted to tell stories.
So he finally worked up the courage to tell his dad he was switching to film school. I bet that was a nerve-wracking conversation.
It was a big decision, especially coming from a family that valued traditional career paths.
Right.
McConaughey was prepared for resistance, but you know what his dad said? Don't half-ass it.
That's surprising. His dad, the tough love champion, actually supported his unconventional dream.
He did. And that support gave McConaughey the confidence to pursue his passion wholeheartedly. It was a green light to go after what he truly desired.
And pursue it. Did. McConaughey dove headfirst into film school, directing short films, learning the craft of editing, and even striking a deal with his dean to secure passing grades while prioritizing his acting opportunities. He was hustling from day one.
He recognized that real-world experience was just as valuable as classroom learning, and he wasn't afraid to go after what he wanted. This drive would prove essential in the cutthroat world of Hollywood.
But it sounds like he was a bit of an outsider in film school, the lone frat guy in a sea of film theory enthusiasts.
He definitely stood out while his classmates were dissecting European art films. McConaughey was hitting up the local multiplex to catch the latest action flick.
Yeah.
He had a different sensibility, a more mainstream appeal that would ultimately serve him well in Hollywood.
And then came his fateful encounter with casting director Don Phillips, the man who would change his life forever.
Oh, wow.
They met at a hotel bar, bonding over their shared love of good times and a bit of mischief.
It was a chance encounter that turned into a pivotal moment in McConaughey's career. Phillips saw something special in him, a raw talent and an undeniable charisma.
Right.
He handed McConaughey the script for Dazed and Confused and encouraged him to audition for the role of Wooderson.
And as they say, the rest is history, but there's an interesting story about how McConaughey actually unlocked the character of Wooderson.
It all came down to one line. That's what I love about these high school girls, man. I get older, they stay the same age.
Oh, yeah, that line.
That line resonated with McConaughey, reminding him of his own relationship with his older brother and that timeless allure of youth.
Right.
It helped him understand Wooderson's perspective and tap into the character's laid-back charm.
So he went into that audition channeling his inner Wooderson. Did he nail it?
He absolutely did. He gave Richard Linklater his best shot, convincing him that he understood the character on a deeper level.
Wow.
He even improvised a hilarious scene with Marissa Ribisi at the drive-in, showcasing his natural talent and comedic timing.
From a chance encounter at a bar to landing an iconic role in a cult classic, that's a pretty amazing green light moment, right?
It was a defining moment in his career. Dazed and Confused launched McConaughey into the spotlight and set him on the path to becoming a Hollywood star.
Wow.
But before he fully embraced that path, he took a detour, a much-needed escape from the pressures of Hollywood.
He embarked on a transformative motorcycle trip across Europe with his Dazed and Confused co-stars talk about a bonding experience.
It's the chance for them to reconnect with themselves, to experience different cultures, and to escape the Hollywood bubble.
Right.
They rode through picturesque villages, explored ancient ruins, and encountered people from all walks of life. For McConaughey, it was a time of self-discovery and a reminder that there's more to life than fame and fortune.
So he returned to Hollywood with a renewed sense of purpose, ready to take on new challenges.
Exactly. And that's where we'll pick up in part 2 of our deep dive.
All right, sounds good.
We'll explore how McConaughey navigated the ups and downs of Hollywood, his evolving approach to acting, and the reconnaissance that solidified his place as a true cinematic force.
Okay, can't wait.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the life and philosophy of Matthew McConaughey. We left off with him returning to Hollywood after a soul-searching motorcycle trip across Europe. He signed with a prestigious agency, but his journey to stardom wasn't without its bumps.
It's interesting how even with his newfound confidence, McConaughey still faced those moments of self-doubt and uncertainty.
Yeah.
He tells a story about completely bombing a Spanish language audition.
Oh, yeah? What happened there?
He decided to rely solely on understanding the character's emotions instead of properly memorizing the lines, assuming he could just wing it. Let's just say it didn't go as planned.
So even McConaughey has those moments where his approach backfires. That's kind of reassuring, actually makes him seem more human.
Absolutely. It shows that even the most successful people make mistakes and have to adapt their strategies. But what's important is that he learned from that experience.
He realized that preparation, even when you're going for a more intuitive approach, is still crucial.
And speaking of preparation, there's that story about him shaving his head for the lead role in A Time to Kill.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't even asked to do it, he just decided to go for it.
That was a bold move. He wanted to make a statement to show the director that he was fully committed to the role, and it paid off.
Right.
His performance in that film was critically acclaimed, solidifying his status as a rising star in Hollywood.
It seems like McConaughey has a knack for making these bold choices that really shake things up, whether it's shaving his head or taking on unexpected roles. He's not afraid to push boundaries.
It's like he's constantly challenging himself, both personally and professionally, and this desire to push beyond his comfort zone is evident in his decision to take on physically demanding roles.
Okay.
He went through an intense 60-day training regimen to prepare for his part as a dragon slayer in Reign of Fire.
A dragon slayer. Now that's a far cry from the romantic comedies he was known for at the time.
It was a deliberate choice to showcase his range and versatility as an actor, but it wasn't just about the physical transformation. McConaughey is also deeply curious about different cultures and experiences. He traveled to Mali to meet the legendary musician Ali Farka Touré.
I can see how that kind of experience would broaden your perspective and inform your work as an actor. It's about connecting with the human experience on a deeper level.
Exactly. But this trip to Mali also provided McConaughey with a valuable lesson in humility. He witnessed a disagreement between two musicians about a young woman who had turned to prostitution to survive.
This is where his GreenLights philosophy really comes into play, right? How did he react?
Initially, he jumped into the conversation judging the woman's choices and suggesting she should be putting out more effort to find a respectable job.
Oh, that's a bit cringeworthy.
It was a knee-jerk reaction based on his own preconceived notions, but he was quickly shut down by Ali Farka Touré himself, who simply said, "It is not about right or wrong. It is, do you understand?"
So he was being called out for judging without truly understanding the woman's circumstances. That's a powerful lesson.
It was a wake-up call for McConaughey. He realized that he needed to listen more, to empathize, and to try to understand the complexities of other people's lives before passing judgment.
It's a reminder that sometimes our green lights come in the form of humbling experiences that force us to confront our own biases. We can either get defensive or use them as opportunities to grow.
Precisely. And this newfound awareness seems to have influenced McConaughey's approach to life and his relationships. He talks about his desire to find a life partner, but he kept hitting those red lights in his love life. Then he had a vivid dream that shifted his perspective.
Okay, this should be good. What kind of dream?
He dreamt of himself on the porch of a peaceful country home surrounded by children and beautiful women. He felt a sense of contentment and connection. It wasn't about polygamy. It was about recognizing that he had been too focused on finding the perfect woman instead of simply being open to love.
So he decided to surrender the search, let go of that preconceived notion of what his love life should look like.
Exactly. And it was then, as if by magic, that he met Camila Alves. It was an instant connection, a sense of recognition that transcended language barriers. They couldn't even speak the same language fluently, and yet they just clicked.
Sounds like a classic green light moment, that serendipitous encounter that changes the course of your life.
It was. Their first date was full of mishaps, a towed car, a missing chauffeur, and even an accidental kidnapping by his friends. But none of that mattered. They were drawn to each other, and their connection only deepened over time.
And this relationship, this partnership with Camila, seems to have been a major turning point for McConaughey. He talks about her unwavering support, her willingness to challenge him, and her commitment to building a life together, even with the demands of his career.
She encouraged him to pursue roles that resonated with him, even if it meant taking risks or turning down lucrative offers. And she insisted that they travel together as a family when he was working on films.
So they were creating this solid foundation, this sense of stability and family that allowed McConaughey to take those creative leaps and explore new avenues in his career.
Exactly. And this brings us to the McConaissance, that period in McConaughey's career where he shifted away from romantic comedies and took on more dramatic roles. It was a conscious decision to challenge himself, to break free from the typecasting and prove his versatility.
He took a break from those rom-coms, even though it meant turning down big paychecks. That's a pretty risky move, especially in Hollywood, where actors are often defined by a particular genre.
It was a risk, but it was a calculated one. He was following his gut, his green lights, trusting that this shift would lead him to something more fulfilling, both creatively and personal.
And it did. He starred in a string of critically acclaimed films. The Lincoln Lawyer, Killer Joe, Mud, Dallas Buyers Club. It was like he had reinvented himself, shedding that rom-com guy image and revealing this depth and complexity as an actor.
He was no longer playing it safe. He was pushing boundaries, taking on roles that challenged him and allowed him to showcase his full range. And this dedication to his craft earned him an Academy Award for his transformative performance in Dallas Buyers Club.
He lost a significant amount of weight to portray Ron Woodroof, an AIDS patient who fought for access to experimental treatments. That's some serious commitment.
He even found a heartfelt note written by the real Ron Woodroof before his death, which added another layer of emotional depth to his performance. It shows how McConaughey immerses himself in his roles, seeking to understand the characters he portrays on a deeper level.
But this shift to more dramatic roles didn't mean he abandoned his comedic sensibilities.
Right.
He brought a certain lightness and humor to even the most serious characters.
That's what makes him so compelling as an actor. He's not afraid to embrace those contradictions, those unexpected moments of humor or vulnerability that make his characters feel so real and relatable.
This McConaissance was about more than just career choices. It was about a personal evolution, a shedding of old identities, and a stepping into his full potential.
And it's all intertwined with his green lights philosophy. He's taking those risks, following his instincts, and embracing the unknown, trusting that those choices will lead him to where he needs to be.
It's inspiring, really. It shows that you don't have to be limited by your past choices or the labels that others put on you. You can always reinvent yourself, find new paths, and create your own green lights.
Absolutely. And this journey of self-discovery continues as McConaughey navigates the complexities of fatherhood, marriage, and a life in the public eye. We'll explore these themes and more in the final part of our deep dive.
Welcome back to our final deep dive into the world of Matthew McConaughey. We've explored his unconventional upbringing, his adventures in Australia, his rise to fame, and the evolution of his career.
And through it all, we've seen how his green lights philosophy has guided his choices and shaped his perspective. It's not just a catchy phrase. It's a way of life, a way of approaching challenges and embracing the unexpected.
So let's break down this GreenLights philosophy a bit further. You've mentioned it throughout our deep dive, but what does it really mean to approach life this way? How can we as listeners apply it to our own lives?
It's about recognizing that life is a journey. And like any good road trip, you're going to encounter detours, roadblocks, and maybe even a few flat tires along the way. McConaughey believes that these challenges, these red lights, aren't meant to stop us, but rather to redirect us.
He even talks about how sometimes those unexpected detours lead to the most incredible discoveries, those hidden gems you wouldn't find on the main highway.
Exactly. It's about having that trust in the journey even when things get messy. McConaughey emphasizes that stepping in shit is inevitable, so we might as well learn to do it less often and maybe even see it as a sign of good luck.
That's an interesting way to look at it. Instead of seeing setbacks as failures, we can reframe them as opportunities for growth.
It's about shifting your perspective. Finding that silver lining, McConaughey doesn't shy away from the tough stuff, but he also doesn't let it define him. He takes responsibility for his choices, learns from his mistakes, and keeps moving forward. He sees life as a resume, and every decision we make adds another line to that resume.
So it's about taking ownership of our story, writing our own narrative, instead of letting life just happen to us.
Absolutely. It's about being intentional with your choices, recognizing that you have the power to create your own green lights. McConaughey also stresses the importance of authenticity, of being true to yourself even when it's hard.
He learned that from his parents, who, despite their unconventional ways, were always unapologetically themselves. That authenticity seems to have been passed down to McConaughey. It's part of his charm, that genuine sense of self that shines through in his work and his life.
And that authenticity gives him the freedom to take risks, to push beyond his comfort zone. Think about his decision to step away from those lucrative romantic comedies to pursue more challenging roles that took guts, and it ultimately led to a whole new chapter in his career, the McConaissance, as it's been called.
It's inspiring to see someone take that leap of faith, to trust their instincts and go after what they truly want, even when it means facing uncertainty.
But taking risks doesn't mean being reckless. McConaughey is also grounded. He seeks balance. He talks about the importance of family, his faith, and those simple things in life that bring joy and a sense of purpose.
He even moved his family away from the Hollywood spotlight, choosing to create a home in Austin, Texas. It's like he's found that sweet spot between pursuing his ambitions and nurturing those core values that keep him centered.
It's about recognizing that success isn't just about external achievement. It's about living a life that feels authentic and aligned with your values.
So if we were to distill McConaughey's journey and his GreenLights philosophy into a few key takeaways for our listeners,
Right.
what would those be?
First and foremost, embrace the challenges. Don't fear those red lights. See them as opportunities for growth and redirection. You're going to step in shit sometimes,
Yeah.
but that's part of the journey.
It's about learning from those experiences, becoming more resilient, and trusting that those detours might lead to something even better than you imagined.
Secondly, be intentional with your choices. Find your own green lights and pursue them with passion and purpose. Don't be afraid to take risks, to step outside your comfort zone.
And remember, authenticity is key. Be true to yourself, embrace your quirks, and don't be afraid to let your light shine.
And finally, find those things that ground you, those things that provide stability and meaning amidst the chaos of life. It could be your family, your passions, your connection to something greater than yourself.
McConaughey's story is a reminder that life is a series of choices, and we have the power to shape our own narrative, to find our own green lights, and create a life that feels both fulfilling and meaningful.
So as you navigate your own journey, ask yourself, what color are the lights in your life right now? What choices can you make to turn more of them green?
That's all the time we have for today's deep dive into the life and philosophy of Matthew McConaughey. We hope you've enjoyed this exploration of green lights, and remember, life is a journey, so buckle up, embrace the unexpected, and keep those lights shining green.